Of course, this was all covered by the BBC yesterday morning, Emma.
Yes.
Laura Kunsberg on her morning show on Sunday, who up until recently has actually been reasonably kind of sensible. She's asked all the right questions of some cabinet ministers that have been on. But yesterday she had an attack of the kind of the lefty word salad flu, I think she had. Here's what she kept saying about Hamas. Have a look at this.
At 9:15 British time, the ceasefire is now in force. Hamas, the group that's prescribed by many governments around the world, has revealed the names of the 3 hostages they are releasing today.
You know, let me help you out there, Laura. What you should have said was terrorist group Hamas, right? Let's hear it again.
At 9:15 British time, the ceasefire is now in force. Hamas, the group that's prescribed by many governments around the world, has revealed the names of the 3 hostages they are releasing today.
I mean, it's hard to believe. And that happened probably in minimum 7 to 10 times. Every time she mentioned Hamas.
By many governments around the world. She can't even bring herself to say a completely illegal organisation. You know, I mean,
I mean, to be honest, even just good journalese would dictate that you're going to edit that down to terrorist group Hamas. That's it. 3 words. You don't need any more words. You don't have to talk about whether it's prescribed by countries around the world, some including Britain. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
What is wrong with them? What is wrong?
Falling over themselves to complicate a sentence, right?
It's this inability to use the word terrorists and to properly label them and designate them.
And who is it do you think that they're pandering to here? Because it's pretty obvious that she will have a producer in her ear, no doubt, saying or before the actual show going out, having a meeting, saying this is what we say every time we say Hamas. This is what we have to say.
Yeah, well, I'm afraid. I mean, I do radio on the BBC as well, and I've had the same experience repeatedly over the past sort of 3-4 days. Endless hours and hours and hours of interviewing Palestinians and Gazans talking about Israel and how many dead Palestinians there are, and you know, a failure to accept the fact that October the 7th happened.
Have you tried calling Hamas a terrorist organisation to see what they say?
Yeah, and they don't use that term.
But do they correct you though?
No.
No, they let you say it.
They let you say it.
So you're allowed to say it.
You're allowed to say it.
Unbelievable stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, you know, when you say, well, where did this begin? They say, well, that's not the point. You know, thousands of people have been displaced. And of course, you know, one
and Sky were at it as well yesterday. They were interviewing, I think it's David Mercer, who we've interviewed here on this show. He's a member of the Israeli government. They were sort of questioning the way in which some of the Palestinian prisoners that they've got were arrested, right? And he said to them, look, this line of questioning is a pretty offensive one. You know, they're basically saying you've arrested children, you've picked them up on the streets, you know, when they were just sitting in their cars. I mean, as if no Palestinian has ever committed any kind of crime at all, you know? Incredible. And also Laura Kunsberg and the BBC only showed people celebrating in Gaza. They didn't show any sign of the jubilation in
the desperation and those families waiting and all of that. I know.
I think it's absolutely
really,
awful.
really shameful.
Now let's move on to the other state of play, which is of course the state of the cabinet, because already apparently there's not only are there now 2 ethics probes going on, but there's a 3rd one being called for. You've also got apparently number 10 tensions behind the scenes, where apparently they're all not getting on with each other. You know, so Bridget Phillipson's being attacked for being useless and trying to change the school curriculum without asking anybody. You've got Liz Kendall has been given a hard time for not working quickly enough. You know, it's all going horribly wrong. Angela Rayner, meanwhile, is reportedly under investigation because she asked staff for help with cleaning Admiralty House.
And moving her gear.
And moving her furniture, right, from one of her many houses. I don't know how many houses she's got now, but apparently she breached the ministerial code by asking civil servants to help her move into Admiralty House. Now, this is a grace and favour mansion in the middle of London, where I think John Prescott used to live, and I think where Winston Churchill once had as his abode as well. And apparently the allegation includes transporting furniture and cleaning the accommodation, according to a formal complaint about her conduct. Now let's have a look at what Angela Rayner said about the use of civil service, or shall we say the misuse of the civil service.
The ministerial code is clear that ministers will not use their position for personal gain or ask civil servants to help them in a private matter. Does the minister condone attempts to use civil service for personal matters?
Well, she may well ask herself that question now, because she's clearly now being investigated for doing exactly that.
And exactly,
Isn't
and
it great,
is a clear breach.
Isn't life grand?
This is a clear breach of, doesn't life come at you fast, Angela?
Yeah.
Because frankly, I mean, as you say, how many Grace and Favour homes or residents has she got now across London?
Yeah.
Across the UK, I think. Has she got her country house as well?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think she's allowed to use Dorney Wood from time to time.
I think she may have to share it, the 500 rooms with Reeves or someone.
With Lammy or
something.
With
Lammy, oh dear. Not sure about that.
Well, I mean, he's travelling most of the time. I mean, Rachel Reeves was in Davos today. Last Friday, we released the Starmer tracker, which is a bit like the Santa tracker, because they're not using it now.
And he really does appear to have spent more time abroad than in the UK.
Yeah.
It's absolutely...
And at any given time, so if anyone hears anything about any Labour ministers abroad, we want to know about it, because we'll add it into the tracker.
Oh, brilliant.
She's in Davos now, where apparently she's going to have the absolute mickey taken out of her by all other finance ministers, because she's wrecked the economy, for heaven's sake.
Well, I mean, we had Mel Stride yesterday just saying, look, we have a Chancellor who literally doesn't even know what she's doing. And yes, OK, he's the Shadow Chancellor. Of course, he's going to say that. But the damage that Reeves's budget has done to the economy is really, really shocking. I think they said it pushed up borrowing costs by about 12 billion. They were saying that those costs are basically would have paid for 300,000 nurses, would have paid for pensioners' winter fuels for decades to come. This is from all through the sheer incompetence of our Chancellor.
Absolutely ridiculous. Meanwhile, Sadiq Khan, who's not part of the Cabinet, but he considers himself to be a senior member of the Labour government, I suppose, because he's in London as the mayor. He's under investigation for a load of freebies that he took from what was described first as a football organisation, and then turns out to be some kind of events company. Gave him a load of free Taylor Swift tickets.
What is their obsession? What is the Labour obsession with Taylor Swift? I mean, she's a great singer and everything. Yeah. But this obsession with accepting freebies for concerts. You think some of these men, some of these guys, some of these politicians might actually be doing some work.
Well, you would think so.
Not going out partying. Plus Sadiq Khan's bizarre outburst over the weekend about Trump, and the resurgence of fascism across the West.
And he's been slapped down, hasn't he, now?
Deeply, deeply, unstatesmanlike to be writing nonsense like that just before the president of the free world is sworn in.
Yeah, talking about, the rise of fascism and the far right, which is their favourite phrase, across the world, and how dangerous it is. I mean, absolutely ridiculous, isn't it?
Does he not have enough to focus on in London with knife crime and people being, murdered on the streets?
You would think he might have. You would think he might have. But the thing about the probe into him and his behaviour is that he misled his people in the London Assembly, because he said, first of all, that these were football tickets that he got for free. He underpriced them because these were £500 tickets each.
Dishonest.
I mean, it's so dishonest, and they're just all on the take, a lot of them.
And
what is going on?
Meanwhile, the chap who's meant to be upholding the law, the Attorney General, Lord Hermer, he seems to be embroiled in a very, messy conflict of interest issue, which is just, and then using the Law Officers Convention to wriggle out of these things.
And this is Robert Jenrick who's calling for him to be investigated because of his close ties to Gerry Adams. We now know that they're changing the rules in Northern Ireland, so Gerry Adams might well be able to claim compensation from the British taxpayer, right? Turns out this guy, Hermer, represented Gerry Adams in another case where he's being taken to court by victims of the IRA. And when he was asked by officials, exactly how much money did you make, he went, I can't remember. And it turns out he made about 30,000 quid.
And there are serious questions about his involvement with Chagos with asylum seekers, with the Chagos deal, which was then subsequently changed as soon as he came in, and he's using the Law Officers Convention to try and avoid scrutiny.
Yeah. It is ridiculous.
I think there are a lot of questions for Starmer right now on his top team. Yeah,
so many questions and so many parts of his government which are just simply not working very well. We've got Rachel Reeves as well under fire because she set up a company, by the way, or an organisation rather, about value for money.
Pointless quango, absolute pointless quango.
And according to the Treasury Committee, who's been looking at it, they said this value for money office that was set up by Rachel Reeves is, guess what? Not value for money.
Not value for money.
It's actually called the Office for Value for Money.
Undefined, with no clear plan. And this is the job that the National Audit Office do. So they've set up this new value for money nonsense department with 12 full-time civil servants working there. Right. So that's quite a lot of money anyway. Yeah. This pointless department, which even a Labour, I think it was Meg Hillier, I think my MP, admitted it was a pointless quango.
Ridiculous.
What is she doing?
I know. Incredible.
Wasting money on a value for money department.
I know. It beggars belief. Now, I know how you're very much of a fan of Keir Starmer's video releases that he puts out on Twitter. This is one that he put out after his trip to Poland, before we knew that he'd been to Auschwitz, but he decided it was time. I don't know why he does this so much, but he does a lot of this. Here he is making another pointless statement about what it is that the government's apparently doing.
I grew up in an ordinary, hard-working family. We didn't have much, but we did know that there was a contract in Britain, that if you worked hard and did the right thing, then, in return, the country would provide you with the security and the opportunity to get on in life.
Who's he talking to?
I don't know.
I mean, is he just talking to empty walls now, empty spaces?
Literally, who comes up with this nonsense?
I know.
He's done over. He's ruined the lives of so many vulnerable people, people who are hardworking and striving, who are trying to get on. It just beggars belief that he can come out with this stuff and that they're doing nothing, wrecking the country, and they think, I know, let's do another little pointless, sort of aimless promo video,
and as somebody pointed
showing
out,
pictures of him graduating.
And as somebody pointed out, every single video he puts out now gets ratioed, which for those of you who don't understand what social media ratioing is, it means that it gets less likes than it gets comments. It means that basically people don't like it. All it ever gets is comments which are negative as well. And he doesn't get any positive comments. So you think he would learn the lesson and say, maybe I shouldn't actually post this stuff.
The abuse that he gets, or I mean, not abuse, I'm not going to call it abuse, the comments that he gets on X, for example, when he puts out a video like that, when he puts out a pointless photograph with a stupid slogan, you would think someone would say, maybe let's step back and do some real work behind the scenes and stop pointlessly posing for photos and not turning up.
And telling us how well you're doing when you're not doing anything.
Oh, it's just embarrassing.
He keeps telling us you're doing change for the better. Well, you're not,
what was the point of that? What did he actually mean?
There wasn't any point. I don't think there was any point.
There's a contract that if you work hard, you'll get what?
You'll get on.
You'll get on, okay, right.
And then we'll tax you some more, and then you wish you hadn't bothered.
And then your phone will get stolen, and your child will get stabbed on a bus.
Yeah.
And then someone else will get the benefits that, you know, they've just arrived in the country. I mean, what?
I know. I've got a story for you about that. She's coming up next about 2 asylum seekers.